What do you want to talk about?
What I'm going to eat next?
What you're going to eat next? What are your options?
Well, McDonald's isn't too far. They're open 24 hours.
They are. You already visited them today.
Right. No, I'm not going to McDonald's. I'm just joking. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea.
Just make smart choices.
I know, and I'm thinking about this, that. I have a full cucumber, so I'm gonna check that out for sure. Make a dent in the cuke.
It's a funny way to say it.
I'm gonna make a dent in the cuke.
After you just said I'm going to check out the cucumber. But whatever floats your boat. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 3 of Overthinking and Anxious. Super excited to have you guys here again. My name is Paris, and I have...
Marty, that
How
was
was that?
awesome. Good job. Great
I've
intro.
been learning from the best, that's why.
How was your day?
It was pretty good. I say pretty good, and then this girl had a dentist appointment this morning.
Ooh.
But we're gonna just pause that thought because I'll come back to it. But yeah, I had a dentist appointment. I helped my best friend move into her new apartment. I worked and I moved a bunch of stuff around. I organized my new office and I organized my bedroom because I had my office in there. And yeah, that's what I did today.
Nice.
What about you?
Very cool. Well, I was trying to recollect my thoughts earlier around what I did today, and I think I figured out how the day went. I drove my son to school this morning, and then after that, I came home and I started cleaning. I friggin' cleaned the whole day, basically, other than like I took pretty much like an hour break to do TikToks
Mm-hmm.
and to do a few social media posts as well. And then I started cleaning again. I moved out one couch. I brought it over to the other house where Krista lives with the kids. And I brought a nice little, just like a little love seat upstairs in my living room from the basement because I'm starting to like shape out my studio for eventually, my edit room, recording studio for music, to do all my demos and stuff, and then to possibly use that room to do podcasting. I think it'd be a good place to have the studio. So I started setting that up, and yeah, it was a good day. And then after dinner, a supper, I had a hockey practice tonight, so I started about an hour before leaving. I kind of started prepping the practice because one of my coaches, two of my coaches weren't there tonight. So I was really going to be running the whole practice. Usually we kind of all bring a drill, or
Right.
my two youngest coaches. I have two young coaches on the team. They're 21 and 23, I believe, years old. And
That is really young.
yeah, and they really get invested into the drills and stuff. So I often rely on them to run the drills, and I kind of just oversee, I guess, keep an eye on everything. And
well, I'm sure you got a good workout out of it.
Today I ran the full practice. Very invested in the practice today, and yeah, I came home. I was pretty much soaking wet because I was moving today a bit more than I usually do, which is good. It was fun.
Yeah, very good. Awesome.
It was a great time.
Yeah, seems like a productive day.
Yeah, and now I'm shooting a podcast with you. So
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go back to your day and the dentist. I know that you spoke to me, maybe once or twice, and very briefly about your excitement and your pizzazz When you have to go to the dentist, I know you're always full of joy. Tell me about your adventure at the dentist today.
That was a great representation of what sarcasm is. So awesome job. I've always struggled with the dentist. It's not something that I'm proud of admitting, but I think that it's important to be completely honest and talk about like my feelings towards going to the dentist. And I think it started because I am petrified of needles, or I was. I do a lot better now.
Okay.
So I went probably a good 5 years without going to the dentist. And then I started having pain. So finally, I went to the dentist and I, lo and behold, needed a root canal, of all things, a root canal.
Hmm.
So when I had that done, I then waited another 6 years to go to the dentist. And I remember for the last probably 3, 4 years, that was like one of my New Year's resolution is to like go to the dentist because it was such a big fear of mine because I knew like what was going to happen. And I tried in the last probably 3 years to go. Um, One time I actually made it to the dentist's office and I had such a huge panic attack that they couldn't take me. I had to go home.
Wow.
So I've made a lot of life changes in the last like 6 months, and my anxiety in general has been reduced. So I decided that I was going to attempt going to the dentist again. So a couple months ago, I made an appointment, and today was the day. When I did make my dentist appointment, one of the things that I decided to do this time is to communicate with them what I needed. So I shared my previous experiences, how it made me feel, and I explained to them what I needed from them to make me more comfortable. Because I don't think going to the dentist is ever going to be comfortable. Like, no one goes, yay, I'm going to the dentist. Well, I think I know a couple people that do that, but I mean, that's just weird. So
Hmm.
like I was like, I'm gonna explain to them exactly what I need and see if they can adapt to me. So I went there this morning and I mean they did an amazing job. Like one of my biggest things is do not sugarcoat anything with me. Don't beat around the bush. If it's gonna hurt, tell me it's gonna hurt. Because the worst thing that you can do to someone who's anxious is to not prepare them for a situation that you could have prepared them for. So if it's gonna hurt, if it's gonna, like sometimes they'll drill in your teeth and it makes like your whole head vibrate or whatnot, and that's a weird feeling. But they know that, so why don't you tell your patients that? Tell your patients what to expect, especially if they suffer from anxiety. Not knowing what to expect, that used to cause me like to have the panic attacks because I was thinking to myself, okay, so they didn't tell me that this was going to hurt or they didn't explain it in details, and now I'm in pain. So what else are they not telling me? What else is going to happen to me? So it's like that whole overthinking and panic happening, right? But
Right.
yeah, they did an amazing job today. Like she explained in details what was happening, why she was doing certain things. Whenever she was changing the equipment that she was using, she would explain that to me, and like she would explain like some of those types of feelings that I was going to feel. So I mean, I left there comfortable for the first time in such a long time, and it happened because I was able to explain to them what I needed. Well, first I was able to recognize what I needed. I was able to explain it to them, and they were able to adapt to my needs.
That's very cool. You thought of doing that.
The steps that I took to kind of overcome that, those are things that can be done in different things in life, right? So every time that we're faced with a fear or a situation that makes us uncomfortable, one of the first things that we need to do is figure out why it's making us uncomfortable or why we're in fear. Because if you don't understand the feeling, you can rarely fix it. So once you understand why you're feeling a certain way, then you need to figure out, okay, so how do I not feel like that? What do I need from others What do I need to do differently, etc. And then it's to communicate that to whoever needs to hear it, right?
Hmm.
So I think those are all steps that we can use in our everyday struggles or everyday fears.
Yeah, I agree. It's deeper than just the dentist, like you say, the whole
It is.
process that you did to to actually, make this a more pleasant experience.
Hmm.
We all know going to the dentist is not pleasant, but just
Yeah.
more comfortable experience.
Tolerable.
You took, yeah, tolerable, yeah. You took the steps that you needed to take to for it just to be a better experience all around.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that we need to recognize, right? So when we go through situations in life, we always talk about how we learn, right? So you've said it in some of your TikToks. I've said it. We talked about it so many times. But whether or not the situation is positive or negative, there's always a learning opportunity. But I think sometimes what we forget is some of the things that we learn are going to be useful for different situations.
Hmm.
So, like what I've learned from my fear of the dentist, that's a tool now that I have, but not a tool for fear of the dentist. It's a tool for fears, for uncomfortable situations. So I need to make sure that I take that tool out whenever I need it, not just when I have to go to the dentist.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you.
All that for a dentist appointment.
See, but this is, I overthink, right?
My point is that you can learn something in every task or everything that you do on a daily basis in your life, no matter
Yeah,
how
you just,
small the gesture is or the
mhm,
act or how big it is.
yeah,
There's always something to retain or to learn.
yeah, for sure. You just need to be willing to learn and to retain the knowledge and
Hmm.
utilize it.
Which totally leaves us to this question, putties. What do you say to the person who doesn't see it the way that we see it?
That's a difficult question, but we also need to realize that as adults, our life changes, whether it's because of the environment, maybe our job changes, our feelings change, our relationships change, whatever it is. And with every change, you need to adapt. In order to adapt, you need to learn. You need to learn your new environment. You need to learn the new feelings around you. You need to learn your own inner reactions. So I think that through life, from birth until the day we die, we need to take advantage of learning each and every day because there's an opportunity to learn with everything that we're faced with. So, to the people that are not willing to learn, I guess I would ask them a question. Are you willing to stay where you're at and watch everyone who's willing to learn move forward in life and kind of leave you behind? Because I think that's what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. That would be a great way to explain it to somebody.
You need to be able to recognize, okay, am I learning? Am I doing enough? But to me, like if I use myself as an example, like I'm never going to be perfect. And I never want to be perfect because one of the things that I love about life is that there's always a challenge out there for me. There's always something for me to work on, something that I can do better, I can be better, I can improve. That's what motivates me in life. So I can't see myself ever getting to a point where I can't learn anymore because in order for me to improve, in order for me to be better, I need to learn. I need to learn from my past experiences, my past mistakes, my past failures, my past successes. Yes, you learn from mistakes, but you also learn from your success. And just because you're successful in life, just because you're successful in this one thing you did, it doesn't mean you couldn't have done it better.
You're explaining it well, and it's making a lot of sense even to me as I process what you're saying. I kind of feel on the on the taker side right now, like on the learning side, you know, because you're sort of educating me, is what I'm saying. You know what I miss?
What's that?
Well, with this whole pandemic, I really miss performing, being in front of people, and creating that energy and the energy exchange and that flow. I miss speaking, you know, to people. And I also miss going to see shows and going to see speakers as well, like other conferences or anything, attending events, like events that I want to go see and concerts and whatever. I've been really missing that this week. Well, we had a few shows booked this week, right up until we went into Phase Orange, which was last week.
Yeah.
So it was looking good for the shows, a couple of live shows that we were going to be performing in front of actual people. Smaller group, but it was still in a soft theater auditorium, two of them. And it was like a show in a theater. And so, but unfortunately, we went into Phase Orange and like it changed, and it changed for all that. So everything was canceled. And we were supposed to do a couple schools as well. Um, so I guess that's probably what initiated that kind of feeling. I'm not depressed about the fact that, you know, the show's canceled. Look, we're in a pandemic. It's understandable. But I'm more like nostalgic about, you know, missing the performance aspect and that energy exchange, and then going to see shows and like, you know, feeling that energy. And yeah, it's just, I miss that.
Yeah, no, I get that. That is one of the things that I kind of had lost. So I music is a huge part of my life. It's so important. Listening to music, listening to going to concerts or whatnot. It's something that I hadn't done in so many years, and that's a part of my life that I kind of had like lost. And I was so excited to start that again. I kind of like had that plan of going to festivals, going to concerts, going to conferences, and pandemic hit and that it changed it all. I think what I took advantage of though is the lives that we were able to see on Facebook. Um so it was kind of like the only thing that I could have instead. I don't know. I can't wait to be able to, go see shows again. Who knows how long it's going to take, but
Yeah, it's probably going to be a while still, but
yeah.
it's one day at a time. This is not easy for anyone. So wear a mask and try to social distance and try to follow the regulations of the scientists, the actual people that are educated on this. Bill Burr had a really good bit about it the other day. I don't know if you listened to that podcast. He talks about the people who don't wear masks and calling them out, basic, and then like, yeah. Anyways,
I thought you were going to get right into it and
I'm not
oh,
familiar enough with the bit.
okay.
You know, like if I was to get into like some Joey Diaz or some anything, that a lot of the things that come on Joe Rogan and whatever, but I've just started listening to Bill Burr's podcast, and I kind of enjoy it. Like
Yeah. I find he's serious, but he's also very funny. He has like a really good balance of everything.
yeah, he's like a Massachusetts guy, you know.
Yeah.
He's got that accent, and he's freaking hilarious. I love that sort of sarcastic, hilarious comedy. It's one of my styles that I enjoy, that I really enjoy watching or listening. I guess Joey Diaz would be in that category.
He is absolutely funny to hear. he's funny to watch. His expressions and the way he like just delivers content
Hmm.
is just something to see and something to listen to.
Man, he's just like that old uncle who's just telling the stories, and man, he's absolutely hilarious. So if you're open-minded and if you're up to, listening to some really old school guy talk about his stories, just go check out, just go like YouTube. You can just YouTube best of Joey Diaz, and you're gonna have like unlimited editions for a good while. Like, I've really dug deep into Joey Diaz.
Yeah. No, he's fun to watch. You just have to make sure that you're not someone who takes offense easily,
Right.
or are not overly sensitive, because he does discuss harsh topics. And it doesn't matter what it is, politics, religion, whatever,
Sex, drugs, like
crime.
crime. He went to prison for kidnapping, and he eventually befriended the guy who he kidnapped,
Yeah.
and still talks to him to this day. Calls him on, his birthday and Thanksgiving and this and that, like, because that's Joey Diaz, but he's old school, and he was a criminal, and he turned his life around at one point when he discovered the comedy scene. Yeah, he's hot. He's hot stuff.
Yeah.
Not in every word,
Not
shape, and yeah,
physically, but in content and delivery.
he's the first one to talk about his fungus toenails and his fucking his
Yeah, he
body.
doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, he's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Anytime I want to get a good laugh, Joey Diaz cuts it.
And then we have Joe Rogan. We can't talk about, podcasts that we watch and then not talk about Joe Rogan.
True that. Definitely
So,
the king of podcasts. And
my goodness, like the variety of guests that he has,
yep.
like from doctors to military people, other comedians, authors, actors, like I mean, the list goes on. It's everyone. And his podcasts are longer than most that I normally watch. They go from like, what's the shortest one you would say? Like
2
an hour and a
hours, an hour and a
2 hours?
half, the
Yeah.
shortest.
And
And
up to
that's
like,
rare. That's very rare.
exactly, like there's a couple that are an hour and a half, but most of them are like 2 hours to 3 hours. That's the average.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of 4 hour ones out there.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 hours and 36 minutes, or at least
Yeah.
4.5 hours with Tom Green the other day,
Yeah.
which I didn't understand because Tom Green was like fucking hammered by hour 3.
Yeah. I was just about to say, don't like ruin it for me. I'm at 2 hours and 35 minutes,
While
I
they got
think.
into the whiskey,
Well, yes, of course. But he's not like, he's still hanging in there. Fine.
like after the 3 hour mark, he starts getting progressively like shit faced,
Okay.
and at the end, he's legit shit faced.
Oh my gosh.
He's hammered, like emotional, and like getting all like emotional with like the deep, and like
Yeah.
just not making sense, not focusing on what Joe Rogan's talking about, because obviously he's hammered, so he's just trying to stay alive and awake.
And not a good state to be in during that episode, because he was mentioning that he didn't know where he was sleeping that night. So on that episode, I learned that I had heard that Tom Green had decided to kind of like take a van and kind of travel and just like live remotely. But yeah, he was mentioning that he hadn't figured out where he was gonna like park his van that night. So definitely not a good situation to be in when you don't know where you're gonna sleep.
Yeah, I'm sure he slept on Joe Rogan's compound that night,
Probably.
because I'm sure Joe Rogan has a compound,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't blame him. I know he has security people and everything, so That's probably where he slept, right in his van on the
Mm.
compound.
Yeah, probably.
He wasn't going far. You'll see
No,
at the
absolutely
end,
not.
like at the end, you'll see like that guy was not going far. He was probably hitting the first couch on the way out. And I'm sure Joe Rogan would let him. I mean, I'm sure they have a pad there. They have something.
Oh yeah.
If they don't, they should.
Hmm.
Yeah, but Joe Rogan, his show's really good. I enjoy it. Like even the he has guests that I would never have thought that I would have enjoyed like a full podcast with, and like Wiz Khalifa, the rapper. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It was good. Miley Cyrus.
That was a good one.
Oh, it was a great one.
Yeah.
Like you could tell that she was like grasping his perspective
Hmm.
throughout the show, like, and she just left there with a lot of, and I read today, and I don't know if it's true, and it's weird that we're talking about Miley Cyrus, but I read that she had like a falling out with like her, like either drinking or drugs or whatever. She kind
Oh
of binge,
really?
she went on a binge there
Oh no, I didn't
during the
hear about
pandemic for a while.
that. Okay. Huh.
So I don't know if it was pre Joe Rogan or post Joe Rogan, but it seemed like the whole show really had like a positive effect on her, and she was really vibing well with him. So
Well, Joe's like so smart.
he
Like,
is.
and it's just I'm still blown away because he has, like I mentioned, a variety of different guests, and they talk about like so many different subjects, and he seems to kind of just like know, not, he doesn't know it all, but he knows enough to have like a very intelligent, educated conversation with these individuals, whether it's in regards to nutrition and like health, or
Well,
if
that's
it's
his realm.
science.
That's his
Yeah.
wheelhouse. I wouldn't be surprised with health.
No, no, but like that's his main thing. But then he goes into science and politics and like
Yes,
religion and like everything.
so much.
And he was talking about hunting the other day with Tom Green, and like just listening to him about that and his knowledge. Obviously, I got really like intrigued there, but
Yeah, like Tom Green was really not informed on hunting and like like
no,
yeah, I carry a gun there and like
yeah,
uh
shoot some birds.
yeah, shoot some bird. I never shot a bird yet,
Hasn't even seen one.
but don't try to fake it.
It's
Especially not
true.
to Joe Rogan because he knows everything about hunting. He's an avid
Exactly.
hunter, and everything else. He's like you said, he's just so informed. Every time I watch this podcast, I'm like, I couldn't do this.
Yeah, like how does he know that?
How does how does he know all of this?
Yeah,
And he's so humble about it. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I just love to
yeah,
learn. I love to learn. Well, yeah, but I love to learn. I love to learn too, but there should be a national TV show headed by the Canadian Mental Health Association, both French and English, on CBC, French and English, which is our Canadian National News Network or Canadian National Network, funded by the government. There should be an initiative right now, a very cool and fun concept of a show that would be on every night after the news that would talk about mental health. It doesn't have to be said, we're talking about mental health in the title, but that
hmm,
would talk about the social anxieties, talk about what society deals with on a daily basis: anxiety, depression, financial issues, stress, loss of life, being afraid to not be able to make the next bill, this, that, jobs, whatever. Just have a show that's real about life for a half hour that's basically produced by CBC, but in conjunction with the Canadian Mental Health Association. That should happen, every night during this pandemic. There should be something so that people can actually tune in and be like, fuck, cool.
yeah. I definitely think that there's a gap with the government helping with mental health, especially during this pandemic. And I mean, I can get that, we're in a pandemic, so they're trying to figure out and understand COVID-19. And that in itself is difficult. But, dealing with the mental health that was there before COVID-19, then dealing with the new mental health issues that came with COVID-19, that is just as important as to deal with the virus itself, because mental health, when it's not dealt with, can create long-term issues.
Yeah, and I mean they made announcements, but we don't need announcements
No,
right now. We need a task force,
we need
a
action.
mental health task force. That's what we need, because this is a war. It's basically a you know it, this type of event that we're all experiencing doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Nothing big like this happened since 9/11. And at 9/11, the world was shook by a great event, a huge event, but they weren't locked in their homes, you know? And I understand that we're locked in our homes, that we're basically confined to bubbles and to this and to that. I'm 100% supportive of that. But
Yeah.
it's affecting everything. Our vitamin nutrient intake, how much sun we're getting, this, that, like it's affecting everything, guys. So we need a task force here with doctors and scientists and experts and everyday people like me or you and just there needs to be this type of committee that deals head on with it and say, okay,
Yeah.
I see that whole situation as a very dark cloud over our country.
And you're talking about that dark cloud that's like over us, and I think it's weird because I agree with that, but there's so many people that are oblivious that that's there.
I know,
Like,
but
people are not recognizing that it's over us.
yeah, there's a dark cloud up in the air right now. You should write a quote about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't even realize it.
Why do you think that most of us are oblivious to it? Like, why do you think that it's not being recognized?
Well, if I'm honest with you, probably one of the factors is it's being numbed out by substance and by alcohol for a lot of people. Like, just you're at home, you don't have a whole lot of an agenda. Okay, a lot of people work, but they work from home. They're
Mhm.
smoking weed during the day, or they're having a glass of wine, whatever. Trust me, it's happening.
It's so different working from home. It's a different vibe. There's different expectations, and you need a different kind of motivation to work from home.
Mm.
Do you feel that pre-pandemic, the society that we have is able to recognize when we're dealing with mental health? So not necessarily as a society, but like as an individual who's part of the society we were part of. Do you feel that individuals are able to recognize that they're dealing with mental health?
Not a whole lot more than right now. And I also feel that the state of mental health in society pre pandemic
Hmm.
was already very alarming in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm no expert. I'm no expert. So take it as you wish, but it's an opinion from the what I have seen over the last period of few years that I've been really looking into this. This was brought on, for me post depression, and I kind of really wanted to dig into the whole mental health realm. And I discovered that there's a whole lot of nothing, you know, for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's good intentions and there's good
Yeah.
people that work in mental health, but they're understaffed, underfunded. Like there's issues everywhere, even right up to the chain of the Canadian Mental Health Association. They're not rich by any means.
And it's so weird because, like, I don't know, like with the journey that I've been on, I've recognized that my mental health is the stem of everything. If I don't have that intact, I can't do or succeed at anything else with the full potential that I could if my mental health was where it needs to be. And I have
100%.
a hard time understanding why the government is not seeing that. Because to me, if we would teach or provide resources to society to make sure that we reduce the rate of mental health, that in the end would make for a better society. Like you would have more motivated individuals to do better, be better, like whether it's with finances or with work in general or whatever the case is, right?
I agree 100%. How is the big word. How to do it. What would be the strategy?
Yeah, I think we need to make resources more accessible.
100%.
I hear all the time about people needing help with mental issues and they have to go on a waiting list or they have to pay a shit ton of money
Yeah.
to get those services. That should be not a thing. You should not have to go on a waiting list to get free services, nor should you have to pay 200 or whatever amount of money per hour to see someone right away.
There needs to be some restructuring,
Mhm.
some continuous restructuring on a very, very short-term basis to cut in certain things that they have to cut through to make it, funds available for mental health. And then past that, they need to think of a long-term plan as well. You need to restructure the finances in order to achieve this. To me, that needs to be priority, like right behind COVID.
But we have another issue too, because even if you make it readily available, there's plenty of resources, and it doesn't cost you anything. We're at a point in society or in our lives that even if something is free and available, people don't want to take the time to actually go do it. And often people don't think that they need it. So there's probably a lot of people out there that have mental health issues and they're in denial. So we need to reach those people as well. And I almost feel, and I mean, this is probably going to be so crazy, but being able to recognize your mental health state, that should be one of the things that is mandatory in life. So, however you do that, so whether it's, making sure that there's courses in high school teaching our kids what they're actually going to be needing to function, or, making courses available or required to complete on a yearly basis, or whatever the case is. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah. Yeah,
there's a
that
lot of people that are going to be or should be forced to deal with their mental health.
yeah, you're opening a can of worms there with me because I agree with you 100%. And I also like would add so much to this discussion in just the whole education system, because you say high school, I say teach them right from the start to
Oh yeah, yeah,
identify their feelings
yeah.
and their emotions and their needs. They're implementing more and more into the district, but like, dude, change it up. Like,
It needs
change
to
it
be so
up.
changed, so changed.
the shit that my kids bring home and the shit that my kids talk to me about school,
Mhm.
change it up. We're in 2020,
Yep.
about to turn a new leaf to 2021, and we are in an era of technology, an era of innovation, and of stimulation. And you're sitting in your schools, it's not the teachers' faults. They don't have the resources,
Yeah.
you know?
But I find like in school, like yeah, they're learning, math and geometry and sciences and whatever. And that's all important.
No, it's not.
But you should graduate high school and know how to do your taxes. You should know how to run a bank account. You should know what credit cards are and what impacts it has. You should know what your credit score means, how you impacted. You should know about mortgages. You should know about like food, but not just the little cooking classes that they do, but they should teach you more about nutrition, how to budget, how to create your grocery list. Like there's so many things that our kids are not being taught in school.
Like, we're not with them 7 hours a day.
Mhm.
What is school? What is the purpose of them being at school? Is so that they can get those life skills and they can understand what their parents are doing throughout the day and what they're dealing with at the end of the month, you know?
Yeah. But we need to recognize as well that there's so many parents out there that don't have the knowledge to teach their kids how to do that. Like how like the there's so
Yep.
many people that have
So,
huge debts, right? But how did you get in debt? Well, because you didn't make good decisions. So how can you, some of them will be able to teach their kids, okay, well, this is what I did. Don't do that. This is what made me in this situation. But not every parent can do that. And we're not all teachers. Yes, we teach our kids and whatnot, like how to the most that we can,
yep,
but like
I agree.
okay.
100%. I said, yep, I agree. The challenges of Zoom sometimes.
No, I know, but then I wasn't making sense from my perspective, I think. I couldn't hear
You're,
if I was making sense. So
oh, you're totally making sense. But anyway, bottom line, I mean, we should get into this discussion maybe heavier at another point there, I think.
it wasn't heavy enough for you?
Yeah, it was, but I mean, I think it'd be fun to really get into
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I agree.
about the
I was just
education
teasing you.
system, you know. If I could um if I had the option of pulling my kid out of school and just letting him work on his craft and work on it, what he wants and knows he wants to do in this current education system, it would, if I had the option, it wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah, like, as parents, one of the stuff that I want to focus on is teaching my kids the value of life. I want to teach them how to treat others and how to be respectful and how to love. Like that's stuff that can't really be taught in school and that I can do as a parent.
Yeah. Anyways, it's a lot of time wasted, folks. You
Yeah.
heard it from me. And it's nothing against the teachers at all, because the teachers, they do their best. 70% of them do their best to try to make it as interesting and
Mhm.
captivating and engaging as possible. 30% can all fucking find another job, because there's about 30% of those teachers that really should just find another job.
Yeah.
But some of them are gifted and they're amazing. And it's not that, it's the resources and it's their curriculum, like you say. And you say, oh, our kids should come out, knowing how to do this and that and our finances and this and that. They should also come out of school knowing how to meditate, not just because a teacher was inspired to want to fucking show her students that, not the once in a while experience that kids get with meditating or with all the different alternative options that there are out there.
And even like the simple things of life, right? So like if if as parents we didn't teach our kids what to do when they're sick, do you think that they would know? Like to me, that's something fundamental that should be taught in biology. They should know how to recognize when their body is not feeling well. And once they recognize that, like what do you do from there? Where do you go? What are like it's just
Yeah. Bit more of life classes.
yeah.
And then you can throw in a little bit of that curriculum stuff too, but just in the midst of it. And the only teachers that do that are the prime 10% of teachers that are just made for it, 100%
Exactly.
dialed in, made for it. There's about 10% of those special kind of teachers.
Yeah.
I'm just going on a whim here and on a feeling, but I'd say there's probably about 10% of the teachers that I had throughout my 12 years of school, 15 actually, because I was on the 5-year plan at high school.
Right. I remember you telling me that story.
um, but about 10% of those teachers, I can name them, boom, right now and say, yeah, he or she had an impact.
I cannot imagine having the drive and the want to teach, but have to teach something that I know my kid's not going to use in real life.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. I'm not going to teach my kid something that he's not going to need. I'm not going to bother. I'm just not going to
Exactly.
say it. Like, but they have to. They have to teach them that.
Yeah. Whatever. All I know is I'd sit down with them anytime. But there's no reason why my son, who at 15 years old is already a pretty well achieved musician, doesn't have a music class for a whole semester in school.
Mm.
There's no sense to that. There's no sense to that. And if we look at every single case of every need of every kid, then yeah, we'd be in it forever. But let's look at the global picture, the things that are important. Globally, the things that are important. What is important? Self-worth, self-love. That all leads to success, confidence, skill. Whether it's the musician or the mechanic, there's got to be a way to readapt the system where he or she doesn't have to sit in class for an hour and listen to something that they all collectively agree, and we've all been through it, so we also all collectively agree. Come on, people. Come on. Got me fired up.
I know. I don't even know what started. Oh no. Okay, we were talking about mental health and how people are not educated. And then I had mentioned that we need to have like courses or something um, teaching our kids on how to deal or how to recognize with mental health
And then we ended up in the
in the
gutter.
school system,
Yeah.
naturally.
Where they're supposed to be taught.
Right? I
Yeah.
don't know.
God
Our
love all the
conversation. Huh?
God love all the teachers out there, though, and
Yeah.
shout out to all the teachers and the principals and everybody that's trying and that would love to make drastic changes. And I know there's something coming. I just, frig, man, it feels like forever. These changes could literally make an impact on our future generations to come. So it's got to happen. It's a priority. I'm
It
done.
doesn't. It needs to be more than heard. Like they need to hear it, but they need to take action. It's
Action.
time to take action.
Yeah. Anyway, it's easy to say from the comfort of your couch in the living room, that's for sure. Like I say, all due respect to every level of the education system, right up to the leaders.
Yeah.
It's all due respect. You know, I approached my minister of education. I approached him. Maybe my approach was, I don't know, too forward, too aggressive, too nonchalant. I don't know. I am who I am. You can judge me all you want on social media or, you know, in a message, but I am who I am, and I can still bring a lot to the table, even though, regardless of any of my flaws or anything that you read into me. That's the thing with society. We need to stop labeling people right off the bat and judging and saying, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to her or talk to him because I heard that, and because this. You know, everybody has a chance at redemption, number one, if they've made some mistakes in the past. And also, we evolve. It's just a fact of humanity. We evolve. It comes with wisdom, it comes with
Yeah.
experience.
And like, would you not, if you're someone who wants to learn and to really, educate yourself, would you not want to talk to someone who has failed often? Because those are the
Yes.
people that are going to be able to share those failures, and you guys can either learn together or they can teach you what they've already learned. Like, you want to talk to those people. Don't judge them. They can actually help you. Like, I don't know how many things I've learned by looking at other people fail. Like, I actually take the time and like analyze their situation because I don't want to go through what they did. So if I can learn from that and kind of like adjust my journey so that I don't go into that same path, then that's great for me. So like, I don't know. That's why I want to share my stories, because I have failed. I have struggled in life. I haven't always made the right decisions. I want to share those so that whoever is listening can learn from my mistakes or my struggles, my hurdles.
But you are right, 100%. Everything you said was like, every time you were hitting a nail, like right on. If you were a carpenter, you'd be a master carpenter with what you just said.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. We need to.
YW. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to reflect on that. We the people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like,
let's wrap this shit up.
all right. So we would love to hear from you
Times
guys.
in our life, we all have we all have sorrow. Lean on me.
So we would love to hear from you guys. So please send us an email at overthinkinganxious@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media. So we are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Overthinking and anxious. You can listen to the podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many other major podcast channels.
And we're on YouTube as well.
And we're on YouTube.
And last but not least, we're on TikTok.
Yes, we are. We are everywhere.
I think so. We're on the ones that matter. If you
Yeah.
send us an email or a message on social media, we will read it and reply.
Well, on that note, thanks so much for tuning in. Take care of yourselves and spread a little happiness and good vibes in your day.
Be kind, and until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long. I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you had a schedule again.
Yeah, it was definitely a possibility.